Alright, men. This is our situation. We are hunkered down. The enemy is upon us. The Tyranids are coming. There's only one thing that we can do. Hold our ground, steady our aim, and listen to the podcast Chaos Divided with Blushing Noise Marine and Nurgle Snurgle. And if that is not motivating enough, the end of my bolter will be. Now, take aim and fire!
Welcome to Chaos Divided, your weekly dose of Wholesome Hammer. If you're a fan of what we do, we hope you'll subscribe and follow us along. And if you'd like to support us directly, you can find us on patreon.com/Chaos Divided 40K. We're talking about our recent experiences at a local GT. What, it reached about 45?
I think it was
people?
45, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a pretty big GT.
For around here, I think that's one of the biggest.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty exciting.
And this week's quote is, "Pain is an illusion of the senses. Despair an illusion of the mind." Oh. An assassin's proverb. Okay.
Yeah, it's apparently from the new Rogue Trader game, so.
Oh.
But I was definitely feeling some pain, despair, coming out of that GT, so I thought it was appropriate.
What did you go into it with?
I actually was feeling kind of confident. I think that's where my expectations were not
so
that I was gonna I didn't think I was gonna win it, but I was like, I feel like I'm gonna have like 3-2 probably, 4-1's possible, 5-0 is like not likely at all. Yeah. But I thought I was gonna be in that 3-2, 4-1, and I won my first round, so I kind of
it.
Oh yeah, I was like, oh, maybe there is, because I brought a jank list.
Mm-hmm.
So I was
bikes.
I did. I brought 9 Chaos Bikers. I brought the Abaddon in a Land Raider. I brought some Nurgle Terminators that actually did some work in my first round that was hilarious. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just bought a bunch of kind of infantry weird stuff running around the field. I didn't bring a lot of oomph or chonk. But you know who did bring chonk?
Who brought the chunk, Laura?
Was it Nurgle Snurgle that brought big chonk?
I think he did.
I think there was a lot of chunk on the field. I saw when I visited your table, there was a lot of chunk on the field at all times.
There's a little chunk. I didn't know what to do with the chunk, actually.
I mean, that might come from the fact that you play games once every 3 to 6 months.
Just who do I put in Deep Strike? I know where I'm going to put them, but what's beneficial to have in Deep Strike? And then having them on the field and figuring out to teleport. Do I leave the chunk here, or do I just take the chunk with me?
Where does the chunk need to be?
The type of list I had, my scoring units were Nurglings, Beast of Nurgle, and Plague Bear. So I didn't know what to do with the Great Unclean Ones. And I was kind of scared to put them into... I was scared to lose them. I guess.
Did you lose them?
Did I lose them? Definitely against Death Guard, I lost them, yeah.
Okay. Death Guard, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I got hit by the Plague Bear, or Plague Marine Bomb. And,
it was spicy?
So spicy. I now know what it feels like to be -1 toughness, and it hurts. Especially making Plague Bears 5 to 4. That hurts. That's big.
Yeah.
But I just really wanted to just bring my big guys and not bring a hoardy army and just move fewer models on the table and see what they could do. They came down in price. I was like, I might as well splurge.
They're on sale, right? You gotta treat yourself.
$20 off ish.
Right. How about the first two? So what was your first round?
Okay, my first round was against Eldar, against our very good friend Phil, and I was really excited to play against him. Out of like all like the people that are my first opponents, I was so excited that it was Phil, because yeah, he's a great opponent. He's awesome. Anyways, yeah,
I think also a listener of the podcast. So hi,
Yeah.
Phil.
Hi,
We love
Phil.
you.
It was kind of funny. I gave him the Ravage Star mini that I did in the Borderlands theme.
Aww.
And I handed it to him. He's like, "Do you want anything for it?" I was like, "No, of course not." And then the pairings came about, and I was like, "Is it too late to like thinking to myself? Is it too late to ask for something in return?"
Right. Can you just forget to score paint this game?
Yeah.
Like maybe just like, I think there's a spot of gray on there. I think.
Yeah.
I think that's the deal.
For the mini, right?
Right.
But yeah, so I had my the first game again. It's Eldar. I still don't know how powerful they really are and how it's gonna play. So I just did my corner Bellicor bomb. Phil was so great enough to take a picture of it because he was just like, "I've never seen something like this before." And that's where okay. So if you don't know about it, I deploy right in the corner. All of my models. So I'm just like, that's where I want to park them. I know guaranteed I've yet to be hit from the corner, so I'm not here wasting time or measurements. I know exactly I'm just going to go right in the corner. It's guaranteed safety. And then I'll just teleport from there because I'm really trying to have chaos. So, but the game was really great. This is the first time I ever went with fixed missions. I went with behind enemy lines and teleport homers. I knew it was a bit of a risk because he could spread out with his Eldar and deny me points, but I just again wanted to kind of make it a little bit easier on me and just kind of know what the missions are, and so I'm not thinking too hard in the first round. And him and I came to the table and we kind of had a raspy voice together, and then I would say about like halfway through the game, I could feel my throat starting to get a little tickly.
the touch of Nurgle on your throat.
Exactly. But so anyways, the game was great. I still played conservatively with it and was still kind of like, I don't know what to do. But it was still back and forth. He left some pockets for my Nurglings and Beasts of Nurgle to come down into his deployment zone, and there was a couple great saves, even a Nurgling to save with one wound left to give me points. It was very epic. And anyways, and then we had about like 4 minutes left of the last round, and we asked the TO, "Do you mind if like?" I knew I wasn't gonna win, but I wanted Phil to have like more points. So it's like, hey, I know I'm gonna have a 30-second round. If you can do points, let's like do the points and count it out. So he ended up having 85 points, I think. 85, 90 points. I'm sorry, I can't totally remember the score, and then I ended with 77. So I was like, you know what? I lost, but I finished with a Nurgle number. That's a pretty great first round, and yeah.
I mean, for how little you play to pull out that solid of a game against Eldar, and like Phil's a good Eldar player.
Yes, yeah.
So like that's a pretty strong start.
Mm-hmm.
Even like I know you didn't win, but that's still like that's pretty close to a win.
Yeah. So, and there was like a couple moments where he forgot that I had a 3-inch rule to teleport, so he had left a little pocket, and he kind of left it. But then there's another part where he forgot a character behind the building, and I just said, you know what, like to make it even, like yeah, charge with that character. I knew your intention was to charge my plague bears, get in there and fight. Like we were already into the next round, but it's like this is a fun game and I want you to have fun, and it's fun to see where this is going. So yeah, that was my game with Phil. Fantastic. And then we had our lunch, pizza. And honestly, that pizza's pretty bomb. Shout out to, is it Eastern Passage Pizza?
I think it's called Passage Pizza.
Passage Pizza.
You know what? It's like super bready pizza, but when you're playing a bunch of Warhammer, that's actually kind of like would I describe it as the best pizza I've ever eaten? Absolutely not. But in the moment, it's like the right pizza for the event.
Yeah. Are the toppings grade A? Probably not. But like the fluffiness of the bread and the thickness of it, I am here for it. If they had like little dips on the side, maybe next time I'll remember to bring dips.
Ooh, a little marinara or something.
Right? Like maybe
some,
a
like,
Southwest.
Yeah. Ooh, like
Southwest ranch.
Or like a sriracha.
Mm-hmm.
Not mayo, but like a sriracha, or like a spicy
crema.
barbecue even.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
So, and then
it's Chaos Divided. We got to talk about the food.
The food is never not noticed at like any event.
We're like, all right, we're gonna discuss the like random pizzas at this event because that is clearly a key detail.
If there was no food, if there was no food, it wouldn't be as fun.
It's true. And you know what? Maybe to talk about that for a second. If you do kind of have the option, like you're at a tournament and you're like gonna grab something to eat, make sure you have some like starchy carb stuff, because like your brain wants it, your brain needs it, and like you can't live on energy drinks. So like something even like pizza, having like even like throwing a donut on top of like something, just something that's like some
cookie
like
tray?
quick like sugar into the system will make that second and third round like a lot better, because you don't get into that kind of like brain drain as fast if there's a little bit of sugar in your head.
Speaking of sugar, holy, I just got a bubble tea.
Oh, swanky.
Sorry. Okay, but yes, you are 100% correct on that. Like, there's time, like when I'm doing it, even at the end of it, I just like, I'm craving it, and I know that once I have it, I'm like, okay, now I can think again.
Yeah, I know Tyler, who we've had on the show before, preaches the value of booch, and I agree. Like during your games, some booch is like a nice, like refreshing, just a hint of sugar to kind of keep you going. But there is something about that like post-tournament, like Pepsi or something, or Coke, you know what I mean? Just like a sugary, just like infusion. I feel like kind of gets the like, just the schlump out.
I think that's a brilliant question for this week. What is your go-to GT post food? And like yours was the fish and chips, but
I still stand by fish and chips. That's carbs.
Wrong choice to have. Exactly, and protein.
Exactly. You know what? It gets you over the hump.
Exactly.
Because you know what? That like, especially after like a 2-day GT, the drive home after like a round 5, like you kind of need something to like pep yourself back up and like fortify, and like something that's kind of carb heavy, like if you're gonna have a burger, like make sure there's some fries there, like kind of thing. Like you want to make sure there's some like starchy, carby, like energy on the table just to kind of like revitalize you, because that's honestly, your brain eats sugar. Like,
yeah.
Sorry if you're a big keto fan, but your brain eats sugar. That's how that works.
I totally agree, but you should balance that with like other foods as well.
100%, yeah.
Like the carrots and I find fruit and vegetables really good as well, because it's a fast nutrient that your body can break down. I feel more clarity with it. Yeah, the sugar from the
carrots are sugary, like, and the fruit. It's like it's a little bit of that fast, just like pep yourself up. Because if you're somebody who gets like after a tournament, you feel like run down. Part of it's because your body's like trying to like refeed your brain, because you do like sitting there trying to figure out a game of Warhammer is like it is mentally taxing.
100%. And I'm sure you've learned from the hard way. I've learned from the hard way, and you start seeing the pattern. You're like, okay, why do I feel so much better when I eat? Oh, but yeah.
Well, even I think about like when we went to play on, like the way you were afterwards. Like part of it was just like you were like empty, like the tank. there was no gas left in the tank. I think because you had spent 9 hours just like in this, like stuck in that.
Not wrong.
Like no breaks. You know, I know you had like we had lunch and stuff, but like you'd at that point gone like 6 hours without like a break on your brain, just trying to like do everything and keep everything in your head and keep all those rules in your head. So like you're even just like trying to keep your memory full too.
That, and like I'm in an environment that I've never been in before.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like everything's unpredictable. And I'm like, okay, I'm in their house still too. Like I have like, okay, I have to remember to move a model. I'm not just playing a normal game of Warhammer. I'm doing a move, and then I'm going backwards, and then I'm doing an interview on the side.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, what? How do you feel that went during the round?
You know, like that happened.
I did that. When?
Because it's true. Like we came out of that, and I was like, oh, I'm hungry. Like I'm ready for supper, and you were just like, what? Like,
yeah, I remember sitting there. I had like the long stare because I was just like, I'm ready to just sleep in my mind right now.
Yeah. So there is a certain amount of like you got to nourish the brain, which is something that like, again, playing a game of Warhammer definitely doesn't compete with like a marathon or, you know what I mean, like a big like physical activity. But there is like a caloric cost.
Yeah, that's why there's people on the sidelines that are passing food and water and drinks along.
Yeah. So like when you're playing a tournament like that, like if you feel like, man, I come out of these tournaments and I feel like zonked, part of it is need a little.
I just had the best idea. If you have a GT and you're like in a restaurant, get your server to walk around and serve them at the table. You'd make so much more money.
It's true.
Imagine like someone coming up to your table. Would you like a drink? Oh, hell yeah. Thank you.
You know what I don't understand? There's board game cafes. There are hobby stores. And there are hobby stores with play space. Why nobody has tried to like incorporate
service?
Like, yeah, like even just like a cafe style. Like if you could get coffee, a cookie, or like a sandwich or something brought to your table while you played a tournament, you'd probably buy like, you know what? You'd probably be like, oh man, I'm feeling like kind of run down at this point. Like I'd love like a chocolate chip cookie. And you're like, oh well, that's a $7 cookie, and you'll be like, I don't care right now. That's not a decision I want to make.
Right?
It's a premium cookie. It's a premium Warhammer cookie.
The value of that cookie is not in the dollar.
Right? It's true. It's in the like. You're like looking at your clock over there. You're like, wow, I've got 7 minutes left on my side of the clock, and I've got to play 2 rounds. Yeah, I need something to pick me up here, or else I'm gonna be moving slow.
Yep. There you go.
So you had a good first round?
Yeah, and then a great lunch. And then second round, I was paired up against World Eaters, and that was a phenomenal game. I had so much fun. I went into it nervous because I wasn't quite sure of the new nerfed World Eaters. Like I had played World Eaters before and just got completely wrecked. And because I'm not a fighting army, nor have I.
Well, you kind of are now.
Yeah. So, I kind of took what I took. I knew that he didn't have much shooting. We were gonna fight anyways. Might as well meet in the middle and see where that gets us. And it was a new person I've never met in the community, so that was neat to meet a new person. And the armies clashed in the center, and we his chunk versus, or my chunk versus his little 8-bound. So, I'm laughing because Jarrett showed me a comparison of a Votan and an 8-bound, and like 8-bound is just towering over this Votan. But then, remember in the game, my Great Unclean was just towered over these units of 8-bound. So it was a great visual on the table, and I was surprised by the win. I think just everything with taking the fixed again with behind enemy lines, and teleport homers, and the deployment was hammer and anvil, and seeing war leaders, they don't have that many units, so he just didn't spread to block my units, and it just gave me a lot of opportunities. So and then we just met in the center, and I did the -2 toughness to his units, and he just couldn't fight that off. And so my strength 8 swords actually started wounding on 2s. Go figure.
Maybe James knew what he was doing the whole time.
But we just
it's hard for any army other than like Guard and maybe Genestealer cults to screen out your 3-inch. Like even a Beast of Nurgle is not that big. Like I know it's a big model, but it's not that big.
And then the Nurglings are great for like the corner parts of the deployments, so they can just sneak right in there and just go in the line. But yeah. I don't remember the score of that one. I don't remember scores that well. I'll just take the fall for it. I don't know. It's in the phone somewhere.
I don't remember the exact scores that I like had in my games either. I usually remember them to like the 10s. I'd be like, like 70, 80, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But the problem was during that game was I was on the hard surface of the floor for the 3 hours, and my feet were throbbing. I thought I was wearing sneakers, like good shoes. They're kind of wearing down. I don't know. No. And just trying to like it didn't feel good after that long stunt, and I had been working quite hard for the couple days beforehand, and I was wrecked. My body was wrecked. It was round 3, and I was like limping to the table. Like I needed to sit. No. And I could feel like I was getting more sick too, and I was like, am I really getting sick again? And I'm like kind of frustrated with that. So I'm frustrated, like my body's just not keeping up. And then I just went into Death Guard, and I don't know, I was trying to understand what was happening with Death Guard, and I felt like my mind was just somewhere else, and playing against them, and I got wrecked. They wrecked me, like properly so. I was not prepared for the Plague Marine Bomb and what they could do with their sustained hits and their critical hits, and they're shooting and they're fighting, and I'm like, and they fought against the Grand Unclean when they just melted him. Like I was like, holy crap. And then I'm like popping up into their deployment zone, and they just focused on all of my Great Unclean ones, took away my chunk, but they were also burning objectives, so they were racking up the points, and I was like, and then near the end they're like, it kind of looks like you want to call it. I was like, yeah, because my back was sore, I was getting sick, and I was like, yeah, I can see where this game is going. But I have to applaud to the new Death Guard and how they played it. It was phenomenal. There's definitely something there. And if anything, there's an inspiration to start Death Guard. So they had 2 Plague Burst Crawlers, 2 Rhinos with 2 Plague Marine Bombs. They had a Mortarion, some Nurglings, a bunch of characters. Yeah, it was a beautiful list. It did really well.
Are we going to see Nurgle Smortarion come out? Would it be Snortarian or Snortarian?
Snore. Yeah. Like a Snorlax. Just make him really big.
Just
The little wings.
With a great unclean one.
Yeah. Yes.
Really tiny, like, pixie wings.
I'm just picturing a great unclean one with some sort of like space marine armor, like from Mortarion, and a gas mask.
Yeah. But like
it's you know what it is? It's Mortarion if he let Nurgle take hold. If he finally like let go completely to Nurgle, he would just turn into a great unclean one.
What if it's like Mortarion's just like, you know what? Nurgle's not so bad, but I just don't want to look like that man. Like, I don't want
exactly.
that.
He's like, actually very vain.
Yeah, he's just like, he's like, I don't want to be like stinky. Like, I
don't want to be like huge.
Like he looks over at like, like Lorgar and Fulgrim and Magnus, and he's just like,
I don't want to be He's
like, you guys are weird looking, but you're not like gross. Like, even Angron is just like big red angry Angron, and you're like,
yeah.
He's just like muscly. You're like, why can't I get like the corn treatment over here? Why can't I just be like jacked?
Yeah, or like made out of flies or something.
I want to be Swoltarian, not like not Swellditarian, like
smelly Mortarion.
Yeah, he's just like, I don't want to live that life, guys. Like, I'm immortal. I don't want this forever.
You figure it out, Laura, here on Chaos Divided, why Mortarion does not give in to Nurgle.
He's like, I just can't. Dry cleaning alone will be too expensive for me.
It already is.
Right. Gonna try and keep this stuff all clean. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah, he's actually a germaphobe.
Yeah. That's why he keeps those, like, he keeps the gas mask to keep the, the clean air in.
Oh, we are on to something.
Maybe that's part of it. Maybe Mortarion's just super vain. He's like, I don't want this life.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it.
We can't blame him for being vain either. And be like, yeah, I get that. I get why you don't succumb.
I mean, I legitimately think there's an element. He's just like, why? Why does Nurgle have to be so like this? He's like, I don't want like boils on my body. Like,
yeah. He's like, I want to be like a Death Reaper. I don't want to be a death. Like, what's the word for rinky?
Like, I don't want two mouths, one of which is in my belly.
Yeah.
That's just two. It's one mouth too many.
I'm not here to constantly myself. Okay, so those were my 3 games. They were fabulous. I had a good time, but my body just was not into it. Broke down. We also had a snowstorm coming in over that night, and it got really icy. That Saturday night, and it was just kind of making the call to not go, and thank God I made the call with my rides that I wasn't gonna go, because I woke up the next morning, I had no voice whatsoever. It was gone, and I wouldn't be able to do Warhammer for another full day with no voice. Like, why put myself through that strain and like potentially damage vocal cords, break my body even more? Like, there's a point where you go like, I paid $40, but the long term, I should stay home.
Well, and there is like Nova Scotia in February, the weather is like it's unpredictable, so there's a certain amount of like, you take your chances. You had a lot working against you. I mean, I also didn't make it in for the second day, so
right. And you have like a great reason, like you traveled 45 minutes or so.
An hour.
Yeah, not worth the risk. Like there's black ice. No, don't do it. It's not, the game's not worth your life.
It's 2 things I don't mess with when driving: a lot of water and ice. You can slow down for snow, you can slow down when it's wet, but when there's like just like it's pouring. Like hydroplaning scares me because you have no control, and ice scares me because there's no you don't have.
You have no control.
Yeah, no control.
But yeah, let's. What about your games?
My games were maybe a little different. Actually, my first round was fabulous. We were neck and neck. I played into which one were they? The Cryptek.
Oh, the Necrons.
The Necrons. Yeah. They had like the Wraith. They had the Nightbringer. The big, tall, shooty ones. What are they called? Like Cryptek Destroyers or something. And like a Reanimator. 2 big blobs of Necron Warriors. So like pretty like kind of standard Necron list. Got to play somebody I never played before, which is great. And yeah, we were within 2 points, like round 1 to 3.
Oh, awesome!
Like, it was like I would score some points, he'd score some points. He mostly held me off primaries until turn 4. And we even had this dramatic, like he threw the Nightbringer into my Land Raider and didn't pop it.
Whoa!
It had, I think, 3 wounds left.
Your Land Raider.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And then I so they didn't kill the Land Raider, which still had Abaddon inside of it. Abaddon came out and then went into the Nightbringer. Abaddon doesn't kill the Nightbringer.
Oh.
And he uses the Nightbringer to kill off, I think, 4 of the 5 Terminators that are with Abaddon.
Wow.
And then the Land Raider kills the Nightbringer.
I am so happy you said that.
Those 6 attacks at strength 8, the armored tracks of a Land Raider rolled over his toe and killed him. And I was, because Abaddon got the Nightbringer down to 1 wound. So that was pretty funny. So I managed to get through a 4-up and a 5-up Feel No Pain with a Land Raider.
Wow.
Which is pretty tasty, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, no, that game had some that was probably the part where it shifted, because then Abaddon was free to just murder throughout his backline after that. But I did also have I brought a stack of Terminators with combi weapons who fired. I deep striked them in. They fired into Illuminator Sereth, who is normally a very hard character to kill, but he is infantry, and combi weapons have anti-infantry 4-up plus dev wounds.
Uh-oh.
So, and they were Nurgle marked Terminators, so they got sustained hits on 5-ups, and they can also reroll all their hits. So I just fished for as many shots as I possibly could, and I think I ended up getting 11 or 12 devastating wounds, and he didn't save enough of the Feel No Pains, so managed to just rip Sereth out, which he was surrounded by 2 Necron Warrior full 20 blobs, so they just immediately lost half their killing potential. So that was also kind of one of those fun and that happened in the same turn as the Nightbringer. It was just sort of I just ripped all of the killing parts out of his army. And he had a squad of Wraiths that I just kept sacrificing stuff to. But they the Wraiths couldn't quite kill everything I kept throwing into, so it would take multiple turns. So I held them in the same spot that they had scouted up to in turn 1 the whole game. So the big jump around unit he had just wasn't able to do a lot. But yeah, it was super tight. I was getting
because
shot
they can't teleport if they're in engagement range.
It's not so much they can't teleport. They don't. I think that brand of Necrons don't have a fallback and shoot and charge. So he kept having to wait to the next turn to kill the thing that I had thrown at them.
Smart. That's a great move.
Yeah. So it was I threw a squad of bikes in. It took my turn and then his turn for him to kill the bikes. So it's I was just throwing 85 point units at him, and then he wasn't quite beating through them, so they just got stuck until they were basically useless.
Was he playing with like a GT style list?
I think so.
Oh, good.
Like, it was pretty similar to some of the other Necron players.
Now, did you know the threats of Necrons before going into that game?
I overestimated the wraiths. I thought they were far killier than they are, but I think they're more so, they're hard to kill. So I think they're more of a fast bullying unit than they are a fast killing unit. The Nightbringer, I got him to use, I didn't even realize, because he used a proxy Nightbringer. He was using like a Kitbash Celestine, so I didn't realize the Nightbringer was where it was. Yeah, so I like didn't even clue in. So I was like, oh, my Land Raider, which is the only shooting that list has, other than a couple Noise Marines with like Blastmasters. I was like, I'm gonna shoot it at your like Cryptek Destroyer thing, because that's the thing that can kill my Land Raider. And he was like, oh, I'll use my Lone Operative strat. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, the thing right beside it, I think I can still see it. And we like look and I can get a bead on it. And I was like, what is that? He's like, oh, that's the Nightbringer. So I fired and got like 7 last cannon shots out of the 4. Like, I like super spiked the roll. He saved a bunch of them, but I still got like half of its wounds off in turn 1. So it was kind of one of those like lucky, like, because if I had have known it was the Nightbringer, I would have targeted it. But because I didn't and he blew the strat, I was able to then reselect onto the Nightbringer. So it's literally like I had bad information and ended up with a better option because of it, which is just kind of one of those like quirks of the game. So yeah, I knew the Nightbringer was in there because he had told me, but I didn't know where it was. So yeah, getting to kill that was pretty... That's a lot of the like killing potential in Necrons right now is like the Catans. I never know which one it is.
I say Satans. Catans? I don't know. Yeah, doesn't matter.
The Void Star Gods, whatever. But yeah, that was probably like... It was like one of the more beautiful games of Warhammer I played, because it was so back and forth. And it was like, when you like turn 3 can't predict what's even going to happen in turn 4, like that's pretty good. I did then manage to just like kill enough in turn 4 and 5 that he stopped being able to score, and I ended up getting like, I think the score ended up being like I got 80 something, he had 50 something, but it was like I scored 40 or 50 points in turn 4 and 5.
Sweet.
Yeah, my round 2 was a little dicier. So I've been kind of talking about my list a little bit. It was basically all melee, which in 10th is never a great idea. But I wanted to see how it would do. And it had done well into like Custodes. I played like a practice game before. So the big threats that I was worried about were like Custodes, Necrons, Drukhari, Eldar. And it did fairly well into those, from what I could tell. I brought absolutely nothing to do with Knights. Round 2, I paired it into Chaos Knights. And Chaos Knights are probably my hardest pairing because of their detachment ability. It screws all my Dark Packs. So I end up hurting myself more. So I do more wounds to myself. And I didn't bring anything to blow up any of it other than Abaddon. And Abaddon got to kill 1 War Dog before dying. So failed to kill a Rampager, which was just like terrible luck. Because Abaddon will eat a big knight normally. That's kind of his like bread and butter because he's AP 4. So he failed to kill a Rampager. I got absolutely outplayed. Like my opponent had used Blue Horrors to surround my Land Raider. So turn 1, I pop Abaddon out to kill a squad of Blue Horrors, which is the worst use of it ever, of Abaddon. So that put him out in the open, and then yeah, that's where a lot of it went sideways. But definitely taught me the you bring shooting. Unless you have like just absolute chonk, you have to bring shooting. And even then, you still probably need some shooting. Just War Dogs, you need to be able to kind of pop them off at a distance so that they can't score. And then my round 3, I paired into Imperial Knights. So that was also that was even worse. So round 2, I got tabled by turn 3. Into Imperial Knights, I got tabled by turn 2.
Ouch. Completely tabled off.
I had maybe 300 points left at the end of turn 2.
That's a good Howl is in.
Yeah, I at that point it was like I think it was a 25-minute game of Warhammer.
Oh my, yeah, you came up the table. You're like, yeah, I'm going home. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess it's put two and two together. That was 25 minutes.
Yeah, it was literally like at that point after the tabling, I was like, you win, man. Like I think if he was like didn't understand at first, and I was just like, I can't even score points here. Like I don't even have enough to like take a primary from you. Like there's nothing left here. And he was kind of just like, oh, and I was like, if you want to like score it up, like score through, like check your secondaries and like, score up whatever you got. But I was like, I can't score any more points this game. I was like, you will next turn take the only point scoring ability I have, and I'm done. And that's fine. But the terrain, I hate to blame terrain. I'm going to do it though. The terrain was rough. It was Dawn of War. And for whatever reason, we didn't reset terrain between round 2 and round 3.
Oh.
So all the terrain was angled for hammer and anvil. So literally the opposite. Like there was actually a building that ran perpendicular to my deployment zone.
We had the exact same.
Yeah, it didn't work very well.
Now that I'm thinking, maybe that it didn't get reset either. Yeah, like
it wasn't supposed to be.
Oh.
Like the TO, like that was the decision. And I was
like, that's right.
I literally got to the table and I was like, I can't hide from you.
Yeah.
There was nothing in the middle. Like there was literally to my deployment zone, like to my objective in my deployment zone, there was 3 firing lines that just ran across the whole board.
No, I know exactly what you're like. He had there was the 2 tall buildings, and they like sandwiched together, but like perpendicular to your opponent. So you couldn't hide behind them whatsoever. No, I remember that. I remember us looking at the train like, I guess that's the way it is.
No, but I literally said to my opponent, I was like, is this the terrain? Because this, like, I got to the table and I was like, I'm going to die. Because I cannot actually advance. And because Dawn of War is also a 24-inch no man's land, I had no chance of even getting to him. So, I mean, he positioned himself back as he had the ability to do, so that I was able to get 1 charge off in my turn. And he went first. But he claimed no man's land, and I had to engage with him in order to score anything, and then I was standing in the open. Like there was literally nowhere to even like be on an objective and not be visible.
No, you're completely valid to blame the terrain. It's not like the terrain itself, it's the placement of the terrain that was the problem. Yeah. And I agree with that.
Typically WTC terrain, like with the footprints, is pretty like usable when you're playing a melee army. But yeah, there was literally like he had one of the big, was it Canis Rex? Canis Rex was able to see like almost the entire board.
Yeah.
Like there was no way to hide. And then like 6 armigers with like the thermal lances or whatever they're called, like the Melta guns and auto cannons and stuff. So it was just like a bunch of stuff that just every time they wounded, they basically killed something. So and with the changes to Dark Obscuration, I couldn't even I couldn't protect Abaddon once he was outside of the Land Raider, because there's no 18 inches is for a knight. They move 12. They're within range.
Yeah.
So yeah, Abaddon took like half of an army to wipe up. The Land Raider took the rest, and just after that it was rough. So not the best out. I think I scored 8 points.
Well, you got painted.
Yeah, so I think it was 18 was my final score.
If the train was placed differently, do you think you had a better chance?
I think I would have lost better, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
I think I would have at least like 100
Had
to
a
18
game.
isn't even a game.
Yeah.
I think I would have had a game. I think I still would have had a hard time. Like I said, not having any shooting other than a land raider, just kind of pushes you to have to engage so much with knights. But then I also didn't have enough heavy hitters. Like I had some Terminators that can kill a war dog typically, but again, they have to get into position. So I just didn't have enough that was able to like clean up the small knights to then focus down the big ones later. Which is what I ran into with Chaos Knights. So I don't think it would have been dramatically better, but it probably would have been at least playable.
So perhaps we need to take Dr. Rhino's advice and get rid of the knights as a one army.
I mean, I agree with that. I think knights and honestly even custodies make allies, but not factions. And I've heard some rumors that they're planning on bringing in like an Agents of the Inquisition as a faction potentially, and I'm like, that also is just like, why? Like, I don't know. Make Crude a faction if you want another faction. Like,
yeah.
there's better options out there. But no, the struggle is like, if you don't have things to kill knights kill you.
From afar too.
Especially, well, and that's how everyone plays them now. Like, they play them with the big guns on them.
I do wonder how they would do with demons.
Because it's a lot of Melta, they are lower strength. So that was the other thing. Like, the Land Raider was the only thing I had that was high toughness. Since then, I've revised my list, and it maybe includes a little higher toughness, a little more chonk. That does tend to be a bit of where they struggle.
Okay.
With this, at least with the small ones, that's why they have to kind of bring some of the big knights. Like, a Rampager doesn't really care about a Great Unclean One.
Doesn't care in the sense of, like, it's killing it?
Yeah, like, it's still wounding on, like, 2s, and it's, like, hitting on 2s, wounding on 3s, with a bunch of 8 damage attacks. So, like, it doesn't have to get that many through.
I guess what I mean is with Be'lakor, in the sense that you would, the way you'd play the demons against the knights would be all about placement and how you can get on them first. Or just doing, like, Nurglings here and score and try to get onto the... and try to get on and stay on the objectives.
Yeah, no, Be'lakor definitely, like, shuts down a lot of that. Because you get more of a choice as to when you pick the engagements, and Be'lakor can also rip apart, like, between your Be'lakor and your Soul Grinder, those rip apart War Dogs and Armigers, which is the secret to killing knights.
Yeah, because they can score then afterwards, and then with the behind enemy lines and teleport homers and Nurglings, and you're just laughing to the bank against knights.
Well, and that was my round 2 against Chaos Knights. That was the other issue I was facing, is I left probably 5 War Dogs on 4 wounds or less.
Oh,
but then ran out of things to... But I didn't have enough. It was like, I didn't have enough to finish any of them. And that was the struggle, was like, I was not actually killing enough to finish. Like I said, Abaddon failed to kill the Rampager, so then I had to take that out because they left it with 2 wounds left. Same with the, like, a bunch of War Dogs that had like 4 or 5 wounds, but because of all the battle shock, and then they can do a strat to, like, heal themselves, so it was just like, oh, I got this one down to 2, I'll get it next time. No, now it has 5 wounds, and I have, like, 1 Noise Marine with a Power Fist left.
Do their knights bracket to a -1 to hit?
They do, but it's not.
No, okay.
Super. Bracketing is not what it used to be.
No, I know that. I know it's just like -1 to hit. Yeah. For at least the demons. I don't know what it's like for the knights.
I think they get -1 to hit and they lose some OC. But like they don't get slower. They only become -1 to hit. Like it used to be, okay.
If you -1 to hit and to wound.
Yeah.
Just saying. Especially when you're like coming down from 28 wounds? Or so?
The big ones are like 22.
Okay, 20. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm not gonna put any more ingredients on it because Rodicus is 22 wounds, and I would not want -1 to hit, -1 to wound.
I mean, Rodicus doesn't have a strength 20 weapon.
That's very true. That's very true.
Exactly. AP -3.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Like the Rampager's big attacks are 6 attacks, hitting on 2-ups, strength 14 -4, 6 damage.
Ew, flat 6.
Yeah, flat 6. The other one is strength 6 attacks, hitting on 2-ups, strength 20.
Why?
-3, 8 damage.
Why?
It's a 400-point model.
Yeah, but look at Shalaxi's only 450. Like, this is 450.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is a little bit of a knight. But still, that's like flat 8 damage.
Oh, yeah. No, it's when I played a game yesterday, and I brought a Desecrator. So it's the same as the Rampager, but instead of both melee weapons, you put like a giant laser cannon on it. Yeah. So I brought the Claw, which is the strength 21. I threw it into. I was playing against Drukhari. I threw it into one of their vehicles, and I think I needed to get one attack through to pop it. Like it was a Venom or something, and it was literally just like, "Hey, I have 4 attacks. If you fail to save this one attack, it dies. There's no D6 plus, just literally like 8 damage. You go boom."
Nice.
It went boom.
It went boom. Okay. As long as it went boom.
Well, and the big cannon on it is 3 shots at on the Desecrator is 3 shots hitting on 2s, strength 18, -4, D6 plus 3 damage. Yeah.
Nice.
And it gets dev wounds into monsters.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Well, of course.
I fired it across at one of the transports in that game, and he was like, "I'm going to use a CP for a 4-up invul," and then I rolled 2 6s for dev wounds, and he was just like, "Oh.
Oops."
I was like, "Oh, well, I did 17 wounds," and he's like, "It has 11."
Wow.
But overall, what did you think?
I felt really good. I felt like I wanted to play, and I wanted to get back into practicing and playing. Just at a more optimal physical and physical health.
That's fair.
But
I'm kind of glad.
What?
You're back to playing.
Yeah. I had a blast.
You and I haven't had a game in months, many months.
No. I was even thinking of like, I should go back to the Tuesdays. So I think I will.
Even the occasional, I don't know. I find like if I get a game in every like few weeks, that's kind of like just kind of keeps you sharp.
Yeah. Well, now that I don't have commission work right now, I just finished. I'm so excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I don't want to like make it sound horrible because it wasn't. Like I love commission work, but once I finished it was like, oh, I did it. It was like just a sigh of relief, and it's like, okay, now I can like concentrate appropriately with work, and then like my side life of getting back into creating and making fun things and having fun with that, and then gaming.
Actually, by the time this comes out, the bonus episode will be out, so we can spoil it for people.
Indeed.
Our bonus episode for last month was paint along.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was the first time you'd painted in months.
Oh my, yes. Yeah.
And it was very nice to see you get excited about it again. So
yeah, I think the last thing I did paint was the
Elder
Knight.
Titan?
Yes.
Yeah.
But even then, like, I'd started that beforehand, so it wasn't like... But, yeah, got to paint some Votan and pretty much finished the guys in, like, 36 hours. I was like, determined to just, like, I set this end date, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get it done. And I got it done. And I said it. But it felt great, like... I was like, oh, there's the momentum I needed.
I actually really enjoyed filming that, and I hope anyone who's a Patreon can check it out, or we have a free trial. If you want to watch it, you can watch it for free. But it was really, I really enjoyed it, and it filled me with a lot of hobby joy just to like get to sit and hang out and like, I don't know, I took like a gray model and painted it, and it was kind of the first time in a few weeks I'd painted, and I don't know, it reminded me of being like a teenager again when I used to get together with friends and we would paint. It was kind of that like just sitting there paint with your friends. And
yeah, Jarrett was saying like that's like one of the best parts, or one things that he missed a lot from like the GW store, was getting together, sitting around the table, and just painting. And then before you know it, like 2 hours went by, and you just laughed, joked, and painted.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize I'd missed that until we did that.
Or wanted more of it.
Yeah, so.
But yeah, like we're playing around with the concept of doing more of them and having people maybe doing it live stream for Patreons, and you guys can come in and chat with us. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I agree. I think it'd be, like I said, it reminds me of that like old school, just like getting together with friends and painting, and I need that. I think I want that.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, because like you can just like paint on your own. That's great. But like, there's just something with, I could see the joy that you had when you like put the model up in camera's view and showing it off.
Yeah.
Like, and you're like, why aren't more tanks white?
Literally, I'm still curious. No, this is part of just like, but I also feel like I was more creative because we were just talking, and I wasn't just sitting there as like, what should I do next? Yeah. Like we're just like telling jokes, and I'm just like, yeah, just a little happy line here, a little color here, and I was just like, I got to the end of it, and actually when you were just like, wait, you actually just painted a model, and I was like, that's not done, and you're just like, but you just painted a model, and I was like, yeah, I guess I did, like, didn't feel like I did.
Yeah, and you didn't go into thinking like, oh, I'm gonna paint a model. Like it just happened.
Yeah, I need to get it to this step by this time, or else it's not gonna be ready for the. It was just like, I felt like Bob Ross. I'm gonna paint a little tank here. Just paint a happy little tank.
Oh my god, that should be a meme.
Paint a happy little tank.
Bob Ross painting miniatures.
Oh.
A happy little nerdling.
Look at that smile.
When you smile at your model, your model smiles back.
Only if you're Nurgle.
Exactly.
Any last thoughts before we wrap up?
No, just it sucks that we couldn't do the 2 days, but
it does.
Understandable circumstances, and I'm excited for some practice games and some more GPs in the future.
I am,
and I owe you a beer.
What's a beer between friends? You looked like you needed it at the time, so
yeah.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts
on that note
for you?
I talk so much. I tell so many stories. By the time we get to this point, I'm like, I'm out of juice.
Okay, you've been drained.
I need I need some pizza. I need
some carbs. If you learned anything from this episode, if you're doing something exerting with your brain. Eat some carbs.
Your brain likes sugar. That's just how it works. Anyway.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to Chaos Divided wherever you're listening from, and you can find us on Instagram and YouTube at Chaos Divided 40K. If you're a fan of Chaos Divided and you want to join our growing Wholesome Hammer community, you can find us on patreon.com/Chaos Divided 40K. Support the show, get on the Discord, pretty happening place, cool stuff, you should join. And if you'd like to connect with us directly, we are at Nurgle_Snurgle and at Blushing Noise Marine on Instagram and YouTube. And until next time, play jazz music.
Ciao
and
for
bye-bye.
now.